to know when we're live.
Thank you, ma'am.
And you are live.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Monday, March 8th, 2021 Dublin City Council meeting. I would like to call the City Council meeting to order. And Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Here.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Here.
Miss Aludo.
Here.
Miss Fox.
Here.
I'm sorry, there she is.
Here.
Mr. Keeler.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Reiner.
Here.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of considering the appointment of a public official and the purchase of property for public purchases or public purposes, excuse me. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andy, I believe. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Miss Aludo.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Miss Fox. And Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to remind the public that we will resume on this format at 7 p.m. Thank you. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Maria, are we live?
We are.
Okay, I have everyone present and accounted for. I would ask if you are not a council member or participating in the meeting at this point in time, if you would turn your cameras off. We sure would appreciate it. Okay, good evening and welcome to the March 8th, 2021 regular city council meeting. Given the current pandemic conditions and is allowed by the state legislature, we continue to conduct our public meetings virtually to maintain the safety of council, city staff, and certainly our residents. You can access the live stream on the city's website or on YouTube. In order to submit questions or comments during the meeting, please use the form under the streaming video on the city's website. These questions and comments will be relayed to City Council by our communications department and our clerk's office. We want to accommodate public participation and comment to the greatest extent possible. We welcome your comments on public business. We do ask that you refrain from inappropriate comments. Your patience is certainly appreciated. With that, I would like to ask, I don't see, we lose John Reiner. I would like to ask Andy Keeler, oh, there's John Reiner. I'd like to ask John Reiner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank
All
you.
right, we have a couple of special presentations, proclamations this evening. First for the Council General of Ireland, and we have Alison Leroy here to start us off.
Good evening, members of council. Thanks for having me tonight. This is kind of the kickoff of what we call our green season, so it's a perfect time to introduce you to our first guest tonight. It is our new Consul General from Ireland and the Midwest out of Chicago, and he's taking Brian O'Brien's place, which I know Brian was a good friend of Dublin. So we're excited to welcome Kevin Byrne, who's going to be our new Consul General. He started in September of this year, or last year, so he really hasn't had the time really to get out and meet everybody. So yeah, I guess it's the best we're going to have to do at this point. But it's been great. He's a great fan and also proponent of Irish culture, and together we've worked to set up quarterly meetings with all of our sister Irish festivals in the Midwest. So he's been a great help there. So at this point, I want to welcome Kevin and hope that he gets to see us sometime in the future in person.
Well, thank you, Allison. And Kevin, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are just so glad. I wore my shamrock blouse this evening in honor of your attendance here. But we are so pleased to have you. And although we do miss our dear friend Brian O'Brien, we look so forward to establishing a friendship with you. And certainly, we hope that you know that Dublin can be your home away from home. We read through your background, and my goodness, it is certainly impressive. You have been a lot of places and done a lot of things of high importance. So we are really grateful that you are going to be the Consul General representing our portion of the country, and really thankful to have you so close to Chicago that you can visit from time to time. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what do we need to know that wasn't on that paper?
Wonderful, and thank you, Mayor Amorosa Grooms, and to all the City Council members. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. Brian told me a few things, and he said one of the things is you need to get out to Dublin, Ohio. I spent quite a lot of my adult life in the other Dublin, and he said that the Dublin in Ireland pales in comparison to Dublin, Ohio. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get out there when the opportunity arises. Really, I just want to take the opportunity to pass on the best wishes for St. Patrick's Day and for Irish Heritage Month to all of you from the consulate and from the Irish government. I suppose a core part of what we do here in the consulate is to try and strengthen the links and ties that bind Ireland and the United States, which is home here in the Midwest to about 8 million Americans of Irish heritage. And really what I want to say is, so much of what we do is engaging with our diaspora. We're small. The consulate's it's small. It's myself and the Vice Consul Sarah Keating, who I think you've met on a previous occasion, and a small staff here. And really, we can do what we do because of the strength of the Irish diaspora and because of cities like Dublin, Ohio. We couldn't put on a festival the scale and vibrancy of the Dublin Irish Fest. So thank you so much for what you do. It really makes our job connecting Ireland and America much easier. So we're really thankful for all of that. I just want to say as well, just to say a little word of thanks and to commend Alison for her work and the work of her team. I know working in COVID times is difficult for everyone. Obviously, I arrived here 6 months ago, and it's difficult when your job is to get out and to engage and to meet people, and to do it from behind a desk or behind a spare room in your house. And in my 6 months here, Alison has been such a support, and it's been really appreciated by me and by the consulate here. And not just her work for Dublin, but for the AICF, the Association of Irish and Celtic Festivals. She's really done a phenomenal job working with AICF and bringing them together and sharing lessons. So that's so appreciated. So really, it's just to say thank you for the work that you do. As I said, I can't wait to get out there. I really can't wait to get out there to Dublin, Ohio. I see a guitar there in the background, Mayor Amorosa Groom. So I'm wondering if you can play an Irish tune when I visit. I can't dance, unfortunately, like Brian O'Brien could, but I can hold a tune if forced. But really looking forward to getting out there. It's definitely, Ohio's going to be one of my first trips once once the world opens up and I can start hopping in a plane again, and I definitely plan to come to the Irish Festival. I have a very good friend who's an Irish bagpiper, and she I mentioned that today I'm speaking to Dublin, Ohio, and she's like, "Oh my God, best festival I've ever done was the festival in Dublin, Ohio." So really looking forward to getting the opportunity to come out there and to build on the strong links and connections that Brian and the previous consuls generals have made.
Well, challenge accepted. We will we will play a little music upon your arrival for certain. So I know all of my fellow council members are just so excited to have you. When we've done the gathering of the Dublins and all other things, when we signed the friendship agreement with Dublin, Ireland, was just a wonderful time for us. Greg and I were there. Gosh, it seems like eternity ago, but I guess it was only a year and a half, and we got to meet with many folks in Dublin, Ireland, and their hospitality was second to none. I'm really glad that you outed Brian O'Brien of his favorite Dublins on the planet of being this one and not that one. So we'll keep that a little secret between us and whoever might surf the World Wide Web. But he also referred to this season as, I believe it was called the Shamrock Hurricane, I think is what referred to St. Patrick's Day as. So we can't wait to see you. I know how much all of us are looking forward to that time. Any other comments from council? Well, we can't wait. This looking at people through a screen has really gotten to be tiresome, and we can't wait to shake your hand and give you a hug when you depart.
Wonderful. That sounds great. And just, I suppose, for the day that's in it, a happy International Women's Day as well for today. And then obviously for next week, a very happy and healthy St. Patrick's Day, or Shamrock Hurricane. I think I might use that one myself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Allison, for all your work on that. But you're going to stay with us for the Grand Leprechaun introduction as well, I believe.
I know, I've got all the green stuff tonight. And I didn't invite Kevin on to say nice things about me. So thank you, Consul General. That was very nice. Well, this next
we need to introduce our Grand Leprechaun to our Consul General. They're right next to each other on my screen. This is perfect.
Well, for most of you, our next presenter does not need any introduction. Our 2020 and 2021 Grand Leprechaun, Jill Kranstuber, is joining us. She is hopefully going to be the first and last 2-year Grand Leprechaun, and she will be leading our hopefully first and last reverse St. Patrick's Day parade this Saturday. So we're excited to have her here. She was selected last year to serve as the Grand Leprechaun, by our past Grand Leprechauns. Mayor, I know you were there, and Dana, our city manager, was there as well. And she was really selected. She has a long history in Dublin, many of you know, working with the schools and a lot of other things. And she's also the co-chair of Dublin Bridges. So we welcome you, Jill, and look forward to Saturday.
Hi, me too. I'm so excited. I do have to tell you the funny thing about being the 20 and 21 is someone told me recently that I was now the answer to a trivia question, a Dublin trivia question. So I kind of like that. But I am so honored to have been selected as the Grand Leprechaun, and I'm so excited that we're actually going to get to do the parade. It's such a great idea to do this reverse parade. So I'm really looking forward to it and actually being able to celebrate with everybody. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, certainly, Jill, it's a well-deserved honor, as we have talked many times before. The things that you've done for the schools and certainly for the community through Dublin Bridges with your partner has really been a game changer in this community of compassion and just a mercy ministry that really is so in need and is so appropriate. And it is so important for us not only to receive, but to give as well. So
Well,
thanks
you.
for allowing that avenue.
Well, we really could not, Dublin Bridges could not do what we do without living in such a great community. I'm going to kind of brag on Dublin a little bit. So we now have, I believe we're at about 30 neighborhood bridges. Dublin was one of the original ones. And out of those, we were #1 in both 2019 and 2020 in our amount of giving. And it's has everything to do with how generous our community is. Last year, we did over $150,000 in giving in the Dublin City School District, which is just unbelievable. But it shows how much need is out there, but it also just shows the generosity of our community. I mean, we really have no problem. We put a need out and people step up right away. And I know other communities are jealous. They ask us, like, how do you do that? And so it's just the people in this community are the most generous. We're really very lucky. Luck of the Irish.
Well, we're lucky to have good folks like you that connect those two dots. So thank you for what you do. I can't wait to see you on Saturday. Hopefully we'll at least get to wave to each other and welcome all the residents to come through the reverse parade.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
That's
all right,
Chuck.
thank
Thanks
you
so much.
Thanks.
Okay, we have one more this evening for Dublin Pickles. Council generally, you may have heard of pickleball, but we're going to hear about our new Dublin Pickles introduction and opening day. And Matt Ehrman from staff is going to present all Dublin Pickling.
Good evening, members of council. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Jim Turner this evening. As you're aware, the construction of the new pickleball courts is nearly complete and will be ready for play this spring. Mr. Turner has been an advocate for this project and has been assisting staff with the project design and layout of the courts. As you know, we have many Dublin pickleball enthusiasts in the community, and Jim has been instrumental in formation of the city's new pickleball group named Dublin Pickles. As much as we'd like to celebrate the city's new facility and welcome this group with an ongoing opening celebration and ribbon cutting ceremony, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we won't be able to do it when the courts actually do open. So tonight, as an alternative, we've invited Mr. Turner to join us this evening and share with council what this group's been up to. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Jim.
Jim, you're on mute there for us. We can't wait to hear what you have to say. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good, thank you. And I appreciate it, Matt, to give me the time to introduce me in this wonderful, wonderful sport. It was almost 1.5 years ago that I first met Matt and Sean as we started talking about pickleball. And I think the primary message I want to bring tonight is the same one that I brought to them so what seemed to be so long ago, but it really is pretty quick. And that is that pickleball itself is a social sport. It is good exercise, it's fun, it's all those things. But more importantly, it is a chance for us to, as a community, to come together. I learned this firsthand when I started playing maybe 4 or 5 years ago in the rec center. We now have about 250 people on our mailing list. I don't know all of them. I can guarantee you, I might know the last names of 10, 20 of them. I mean, I consider them to be good friends, yet it's just a matter of the relationships. And as I look forward to what's going to happen with our new courts, I think we'll see more and more of that. The other thing I wanted to mention, I don't want to correct Matt, but I'm going to, because he doesn't even know this, that we've made the decision to change our name from Dublin Pickles to Dublin Pickleball Association. Now, Dublin Pickles, Matt, do you have our logo?
I do. Let me pull it up here.
Okay. We created this logo with the primary purpose of saying, we don't want anybody to think that we are taking ourselves too seriously. That I think I see a chuckle or two there. And it'll change to Dublin Pickleball. And pickleball itself is, as it looks to be, play with a wiffle ball, a small paddle, and just a lot of fun. I'm certain that once those courts are open, the city will be shocked, pleasantly surprised. And I don't mean just city council. I mean all of us will be shocked at the flood of players that will hit the courts. So we're all looking forward to that. We appreciate it. And I came to say thank you, and I've done that. And I'd answer any questions if somebody has any. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's so nice to see that and to hear about the pickleball players, and it just sounds like a fantastic time. Any questions from council for Mr. Turner? Well, we can't wait to see you in person again.
Okay.
And to watch you all play some pickleball.
I am going to issue a challenge, and that is that at some point in the future, we're going to have a tournament of some sort. And instead of a member guest or a pro-am or something, we're going to have a council versus council. We'll match everybody up with somebody, give them a half hour of lessons, and then we'll play pickleball. We'll have a good time. Look forward to it.
Great. Bring it on, Jim. If I know anything about these folks that I work with, we're a highly competitive bunch. So
there you go. Thank you very much.
It will be game on. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time for citizen comments. If there are any comments residents would like to make for items that are not on this evening's agenda, I would like to ask Jenny Delgado in the clerk's office to see if we've received any through the clerk's office.
We have not.
Thank you. And I would like to ask Lindsay if we've received any through the web.
We have not, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
Okay, consent agenda. There are 2 items on our consent agenda, the February 22nd meeting minutes, and it looks like a transfer of owners in the 5300 Park Center Avenue Hotel. Would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none. Jenny, have we received any public comment through the clerk's office on the consent agenda?
We have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we received any via the web?
We have not.
Thank you. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us up to postponed table items, ordinance 02-21.
Rezoning of approximately 11.37 acres from R Rural District PUD Planned Unit Development District for the development of 30 single-family homes with 2.62 acres of open space on a site located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Shire Rings and Cosgray Roads under the provisions of Zoning Code Section 153.050.
Great, thank you. Staff report this evening will be from Zach Houtzel, and there he is. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great to be with you all this evening. That would be looking too far ahead there. Give me just one moment. All right, is full screen coming up?
Sure is.
Excellent. Well, good evening, council members. Before you this evening is the second reading for the rezoning and preliminary development plan for Ayrshire Farms. This is ordinance 02-21. The site is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Shirings Road and Cosgrave Road. The site consists of 3 parcels, with the largest, which is located at the intersection, being used for agricultural reasons currently, and the 2 additional parcels being the rear of 2 existing residences that are currently located in the Washington Township. There is a leach field that is located within one of the 2 smaller parcels that assists the existing residents to the north. The site is currently zoned rural and is located north of Ballantrae. As a recap of the previous meeting, this application is for the development of 30 single-family lots, 3 public streets, and approximately 2.62 acres of open space, which is split between 3 reserves, reserves A through C. This is located on an 11.37 acre site. The site does include 2 stormwater basins located in reserves A and C. Multi-use paths connecting to existing regional connections that are located from Ballantrae in terms of pedestrian paths, and additional active and passive amenities within the proposed open spaces in coordination with these paths. Following the comments and questions received at the February 8th City Council meeting, the applicant has provided updates to the development text and also provided exhibits to address City Council's concerns regarding open space. The applicant has added text clarifying a cost-sharing agreement between the HOA and the city for the care and maintenance of the 2 stormwater basins, as this was a topic of discussion at the City Council meeting. The applicant has also provided an estimate HOA fee chart for the proposed 30 single-family homes, or the single-family lots that would encapsulate what fees these lots would be covering with this development. Regarding architecture, the applicant has added text directed towards stone-clad foundations being required for all homes within the development, also requiring weatherproof composite board materials for the rear door landings of each home, and also removing fencing provisions from the development text. Additionally, there is text regarding specifically lots 23 through 30 in regards to the rear yard air conditioner locations for these lots, and also requirements for patios to be constructed by the developer with the construction of each home on these lots. The applicant has updated the development text with a clear definition of the garage door openings throughout the development, as this was also a topic of discussion at the previous meeting. And the development text states that the garage doors, if you were considering just the garage doors on each elevation, there would be a maximum of 48% of the front elevation that they would be able to occupy. Alternatively, if you were looking at the entire garage area, this is the space between each garage door and the space that supports the garage door surrounding each garage door, it would be a maximum of 64% of the front elevation would be able to be occupied. The applicant has went through each of their proposed characters that were submitted with the packet and made sure that this number meets all of the characters that are proposed. Shown on the screen is the Aberdeen. It may be small text on the screen, but there are calculations and distances for each specific part of this elevation. The Aberdeen is the largest front elevation in terms of front elevation percentage for the garage door space. Each elevation does meet the 48% specifically. If you're looking at just the garage door, the additional character elevations for when you're considering the entire garage area are split between 60% and 58%. Finally, the applicant has provided a rear yard amenity plan to illustrate how much developable space is located to the rear of each proposed lots, with these homes that are currently programmed on each lot. For reference, the applicant has added a provision to the development text requiring that this sheet be shown to each potential home buyer so that they understand how much space they have to the rear of their home to develop for rear yard amenities such as patios and decks. It should be noted that the light green, which is that developable space to the rear of homes, does not include the 5-foot encroachment that code allows for at-grade patios. Staff reviewed this application to all applicable criteria and recommended approval to Planning and Zoning Commission with 10 conditions. Planning and Zoning Commission then recommended approval of the ordinance to City Council. Tonight, recommendation of approval is provided for this ordinance. If council members have any questions for staff, I would be happy to take them. Otherwise, the applicant is also here to address any questions and concerns you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hounshell. I would like to check in with Jenny in the clerk's office to see if we've received public comment relative to this application.
We have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we via the web?
We have not.
Thank you. Council questions, discussion?
I had a question for the applicant, if I could. It was mentioned in here that the developer would go ahead and, if I understood that, construct patios. I know based on this discussion of the setback, et cetera, so forth. Could you share a little bit more about that and a little bit about what size of patios we might be talking about here? Thank you.
Yes, this is Jack Reynolds, the attorney. And why don't I have Todd Foley with Pod Design address that, because there were a specific number of patios that the developer was going to build initially. The rest of the patios were going to be left up to the individual property owners to construct. Todd, can you?
Jack, I believe we've lost your audio. Don't know if you can.
I can jump in since we lost him. Sorry, laptop's not working, so I'm on my cell phone this evening, so I apologize for the awkward screen. But this is Todd Foley with Pod Design. Great to see everybody again this evening. So specifically to the question, the exhibit that we provided, L2.00, I think you recall at the last meeting, lots 23 to 30, given their a little bit of a special condition with the stormwater easement in the rear, and then combined with setbacks, the commitment was made that that the developer will be, in conjunction with the construction of those homes 23 through 30, will also work with those homeowners to construct the patios at the time of their construction. And then the residual lots 1 through 22 would fall, that burden or opportunity would fall upon the individual homeowner as they move forward with the construction of their homes. So so we have not, what we have tried to do with this exhibit, because there still is intended to be flexibility and the opportunity for the homeowner of those lots 23 through 30 to cater a patio that meets both their personal desires and fits with the house in question. The outline, the red area that is shown on that exhibit, hopefully it's shown clearly for you as you look at it. That represents, and what we're trying to show is that's the area in which the patio, any landscape screening, any walls that may be required as a result of grading transition along the rear. That's the designated area where those elements are going to exist. And I think that's how we interpreted a lot of the questions last time we met, was a little bit of an uncertainty as to where those things could live on those sites. So that's what that exhibit is attempting to show. And then again, we've gone ahead and obviously highlighted on the other lots, which I think for most of the other ones, it's a little more obvious, and there's a little more opportunity given the size and shape of them. So, hopefully that can explain kind of our thought process on how we address the patios with the individual lots.
Thank you. So, sort of my question and thought, because those are such tight spaces, if I'm a homeowner here and I buy this and I'm not loving the design in that patio, per the text here, I wouldn't necessarily be allowed to construct a different patio, if I understand that correctly. There will be a restriction. It's either what the developer wishes or not. I just want to be sure I understand. So it won't come for a appeal or a variance request. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, no, we are. It's not set up for that condition that you would see these again. The developer will, at the time of the construction of those lots, be solidifying the patio design of those specific lots, and in conjunction with the construction of those homes, those patios will be put into place. It will not be a situation where if you choose to purchase lot 23 and come back a year later and say, I want to go into the stormwater easement or any other kind of potential variance request you could pick up. That is not the intent. That's why we want to make that commitment, is to remove that uncertainty. So
Thank you very much.
thanks for the question.
Other questions from council?
Yeah, could you put up on the screen again that graphic that shows the backyards and how much room there are for each of the units? So I'm trying to get a feel for how much patio area there is on these units. Is the minimum patio like 10 feet? It's really, I can't scale this thing off since it's on the computer. I just need more information to know that these people aren't going to come back and they're going to be upset because they can't have an outdoor living space. Can you expand on that, Mr. Foley?
Certainly. So hopefully we've added some dimensions to, I guess, if we focus on lots 23 through 30. So obviously the pre-programming of the lots, which I think we've identified is going to be a commitment that the developer intends to do. So the lots will have the individual houses that we've conceptually put in front of you programmed. And with that will come an understanding for how the rear of the lot works with the building footprint and the rear setback. And then obviously we have our 20-foot stormwater easement. So on average, there is a 10-foot rear setback that we've identified that starts at that stormwater easement moving towards the house. And then in most cases, there's roughly anywhere from 8 to 10 additional feet where a patio, the remainder of a design of a patio could live. So now some of the lots are, some of the house footprints are, a little boxier along the back. Some have a little bit more linear nature. So, but that will actually, we think is a positive thing. It's going to provide a variety of designs back there. Some of them are going to be a little bit more unique there. But we've added some dimensions. So I think, lot 28, for instance, they have over 35 feet from that stormwater easement to the rear of their building, roughly 21 feet, 26 feet, 18 feet. So we've got some pretty significant square footage from most of those 8 lots there in the center. And similar conditions will exist on some of the other lots as you move beyond those central area. So.
Yeah, we were discussing the fencing, and last time we said it might be better if they were all uniform, and I think we were all in agreement of that. Now you have deleted the fencing between the units. Is that what we understand?
That is correct.
And the reason for doing that was?
I think there was just a concern about the uniformity and having it expand across the community. And so instead of trying to work up some uniform fencing types, it was more expedient simply to say, let's do it without the fencing instead of trying to work them in on an individual basis.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anything else from council? I have a question relative to the fencing. So the updated zoning text says that fencing is subject to the requirements of the zoning code. Zach, can you tell me that fencing essentially would be permitted in those setback areas, the same footprint, if you will, that the patio is permitted? Is that correct?
So the way the development text is written, it does allow for anything that's not considered within development text would then be subject to standard zoning code. Since there's no provision stating no fencing would be permitted here, it would then be subject to what is standard throughout the district. So it would have to meet all required setbacks, rear yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, not be located in any easements. So it does limit the locations of fencing.
But those fencing limitations would essentially mirror the patio footprints as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think probably I would be more supportive of them prohibiting fencing to be used in that area if people are going to have a 4-foot fence on the edge of their patio, which is going to be at the absolute edge of their building area. I think probably it would be very disruptive to those view sheds if you know, one neighbor has a fence and then the next doesn't. It's the quarters are tight as it is. I think if we put fencing, if per code, you know, I think most of our communities in the city preclude the ability to install a fence. I'd be interested in hearing what my fellow council members thought.
Yeah, I'll pipe in and I'll agree with that. I think that makes the most sense. Just prohibiting it, and that's how a lot of our neighborhoods are.
Yeah, it's going to, unfortunately, may look like a box grid for somebody's window, series of little boxes all sort of attached to each other. So, yeah, maybe on the next time around, if something like this comes in, that the density has changed and there's a lot of units packed in this, and I know what they're trying to shoot for a clientele base, but let's see how this turns out and see what happens. One more thing on the stairs. Can you go back? Can you explain how the stairs are going to be attached to the patios to the units and what that really means? I saw the one line in there, but I don't think I understood exactly what you're doing.
Todd, can you answer?
Yeah, so on that exhibit L2.00, so there's basically two configurations of egress out the rear of the proposed units. One specific building type will utilize a traditional man door, if you will, or just a traditional, 3-foot door, 4-foot door, forgive me the distance, but just a normal single hinge door that will come out onto a traditional landing and then steps down to grade. The remainder of and what makes up the bulk of our proposed homes is actually it's a sliding glass door, so a two pane, sliding door with a fixed panel, and the stoop that you will step out onto will encompass the entire width of that patio door, and then there'll be steps down to grade. Both of those are intended to comply with what's required under the building permit. What would be required on the building code, and obviously as homeowners most anticipatably will put patios and things like that, then those structures will either be integrated or removed in lieu of steps or whatever other function their design results in. So
I guess I have a question about the fascia on the steps. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to build a set of steps coming out of unit. And as we said at the last meeting, we hate to see these units have a bunch of steps that are just, basically, hopefully womanized lumber. But is there any architectural detailing as to the quality of the kind of steps that we're going to see? In other words, are these steps going to be just steps with gaps underneath them? Are they going to be, is the fascia going to be finished out on them? I mean, I think that's where we're running into problems with some developers, is that they build just a wooden set of steps and hang it on the back of the house, and that's it. And it really is rather unattractive after a number of years. And that's why we're trying to say, it'd be great if you guys incorporated the actual patios with these steps and make it a complete package.
I think that we can definitely, and I don't know if it's appropriate, if we're fortunate to come back through with our final development plan, to be able to provide that as a part of that, or if we need to, condition something further. But the intent is absolutely for these step features to be homogeneous with each other. And, I think having a little fascia plate underneath the steps and things like that is, I mean, at most case, we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 steps at the most. So I think that's definitely something that could be, added to that. We have not provided you with a formal design of that, mainly because we anticipate that, all of these homes are going to have some sort of, stone paver patio, things like that, just given the price point and the target demographics. So,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Reiner, this is Jack Reynolds again. Can I follow up? Fencing question. Our intent was to prohibit the fencing around the patio area. So, in talking with staff, there is a requirement in the code for a fence around a pool. So we did not want to prohibit fencing around a pool. So if you all would like us to condition approval on, no fencing around the patio areas, and that we have to meet code requirements for fencing around a pool, we could certainly do that. I think we discussed that with Zach.
Yeah. No, I can see that. That's going to be a requirement of a fence around a pool. I can fully understand that. I don't know how, once these units go in, you would actually get back there and excavate the pool if someone bought one of these units, because you have to disassemble 3 or 4 yards to get there, possibly. Yeah, so back to the patios, and the hope is that, I guess, we're trying to get away from, if someone puts in a paver patio or brick patio, or we're hoping that, yes, maybe they come in with limestone steps to step down onto that patio. Something, it's generally better than just hanging a wooden set of steps on there. So, I get that. And if we are going to put steps on this going to patios, then I would at least hope that the wooden steps have some architectural integrity and have some fascia on it or something like that to finish them out.
Obviously, as Todd indicated, we'd be more than willing to work with staff at your all's direction and provide some additional detail on those steps as they come out of the back of the house onto the patio.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Zach, it appears you may be typing some things. Is that indicative that you're adding some conditional language for us to approve this evening?
That is correct. I have added one condition, should City Council decide to move forward with it, regarding fencing, that the applicant prohibit fencing within the development text. And just to clarify as well, even if fencing were prohibited, it is a requirement of the zoning code that barriers be surrounding pools, so that would not affect pool barriers, say.
Okay, then that's fine.
And Zach, did you have something about the architectural nature of the stairs?
Yes, I can add something. Give me one moment.
Appreciate you.
Could I ask one clarifying point, just so that I understand? I'm guessing the fence may have been there because those patios on the ones where the that will be built with the development, the 23 through 30. How close, when those two patios are back to back, pick any of these, say 24 and 29, how close are the edge of one person's patio to another person's patio? How many feet?
Well, it could be 20 feet. It would be that drainage area, so it would be 20 feet.
20 feet. And that would matter on the model people are building, or will the model be dictated? You showed us some layouts. They can only buy that model that's on that layout. Do I understand that?
On the lot, is the model assigned to the lot? Is that your question?
It is. Thank you. Much better said. Thank you.
Todd, I do believe that they are programmed. Maybe Todd could speak to it.
So this is a really important detail that the applicant has really set forth in all of our initial planning stuff, that they will be programming the lots. The particular house that is programmed on the lot will need to stay on that. And the intent is that therefore we can create this architectural palette across the streets that doesn't put similar houses right next to each other, and allows for the architectural diversity to live throughout the project. So that will not be determined by a potential homeowner who walks off the street. If they like a particular footprint, they're going to have a select version of lots that's pre-decided by the applicant to live with on.
Great, thank you. And I understand the challenge. 20 feet patio to patio is incredibly tight. And I understand that, why somebody might want to put a fence there, but I don't think a fence is the right answer. I think I'll say I think that's not the right answer, but it'll be challenging. I do very much though appreciate the fact that we're addressing this patio thing now and up front, because it is an ongoing challenge. And although people don't want yards, they do very much appreciate, especially like on days like today, some nice outdoor space. So I appreciate you're working through to provide some solutions there. So thank you.
Yeah, and that fence would have been limited to 4 feet because that's what would be permitted by code, which wouldn't provide any privacy anyhow. It would just be a visual breakup that would be, below sight line. So hopefully people come in with really thoughtfully executed landscapes that make their spaces unique to themselves. Okay, Zach, how are we doing on our conditions?
Let me pull up the screen so you can see what I have written here. So the first condition being the applicant prohibit fencing within the development text, and the second condition being the applicant incorporate fully detailed rear yard landings with the development of each home. If there's anything you would like to adjust with these, please let me know and I'd be happy to change it.
Looks good, Zach.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Foley, applicant, do you agree with those two additional conditions as you just saw?
Yes, we do.
Great. Okay, if there's nothing further then, Jenny, would you like to call the roll?
Ms. Saludo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to waive the council rules of order, address resolution 1021 at this point in time. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christina. Jenny, would you call the roll?
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Ms. Saludo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 10-21.
Accepting a preliminary plat for the Ayrshire Farms development.
An introduction.
I'll introduce it.
I'll introduce. I was totally stuck. I was like, I can't get my mute off.
Thank you, John. Okay, Zach will present on this as well with our staff report. So, Mr. Hounshell.
Excellent. Well, good evening again. This is a request for review and approval of Resolution 10-21 for the preliminary plat of Ayrshire Farms. As previously stated, the site is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Shire Rings Road and Cosgrave Road. This site is currently zoned rural and includes 3 parcels, one of which being used for agricultural purposes. I apologize, I got tongue-tied. And the other 2 are the rear yards of existing residential lots located within the Washington Township. This is a request for acceptance of a preliminary plat to subdivide approximately 11.37 acres into 30 single-family lots, 3 public streets, and 3 reserves, which equal 2.62 acres of open space across the 3 reserves. The lots within this development vary in size, with the smallest being 0.16 acre in size to 0.52 acres. A plotted 20-foot front building line is provided with this development. All proposed streets are public. The main access would be from LaCroix Road to the north, as it provides access from Shire Rings Road as the sole access within this development. It does intersect with Drumore Court and Dornell Court to the south of the main access point. Both of these courts are cul-de-sacs within the development. Each of these will be 50 feet. All 3 of these will be 50 feet in width for right-of-way with 28-foot streets. These will also include 4-foot sidewalks, and there will be 8-foot wide multi-use paths throughout the development. The applicant or this site does require 1.12 acres of open space dedication. The applicant is providing 2.62 acres, meeting this requirement. The reserves will be maintained by the HOA, with the basins being maintained by the city, with a cost sharing agreement which has been proposed within the development text as previously stated, between the HOA and the city for the care and maintenance of the stormwater basins. Staff reviewed this application to all applicable criteria and recommended approval to Planning and Zoning Commission with the one condition regarding minor technical adjustments. The applicant has made this adjustment following the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval to City Council, so recommendation of approval of Resolution 10-21 is recommended tonight. If the council members have any questions for staff, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, the applicant is here to take any questions or concerns you may have. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Zach. I want to check in with Jenny in the clerk's office to see if we've received any public comment.
We have not.
And Lindsay via the web?
We have not.
Thank you. Council questions, discussion? We're hearing none. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you
That
folks
brings us,
very much.
yes, thank you. Appreciate your work on that. That brings us to second reading, public hearing ordinances, ordinance 05-21.
Adopting and enacting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Dublin, Ohio.
Thank you. And our staff report will be from our legal counsel, Jennifer Regler, this evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I don't have any updates since the first meeting, and we continue to recommend approval of the ordinance tonight.
Great, thank you. Jenny, have we received any public comment via the clerk's office?
No, we have not.
Okay, thank you. And Lindsay via the web?
No, we have not.
Appreciate that. Council questions, discussion? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Okay, introduction, first reading, public hearing ordinances, ordinance 06-21.
Amending the annual appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. And our staff report will be, there he is, Mr. Matt Stifler and Rosa Ogletree. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You got it, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you Rosa Ogletree. Rosa is our Deputy Director of Finance, and she joined the city about 8 months ago from the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System. So she will be introducing Ordinance 06-21 tonight. So thank you for that, and Rosa.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, members of council. I'm here to present to you Ordinance 6-21, the Q1 Supplemental Appropriations. Please note that Section 5 requests the reappropriation of funds in the amount of $500,000 as a placeholder for future land acquisition, as discussed during the Finance Committee meeting held last month. The reappropriation of funds will increase the amount available for future land-based economic land-based economic development opportunities. All pertinent information for all other sections is discussed in the ordinance memo. Staff recommends the approval of this ordinance at the second hearing scheduled for March 22nd, and we are available for questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Rosa, and welcome. This is your first time, I believe, before us, so we are just really happy to have you, and so glad you were able to join us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, I will check in with Jenny through the clerk's office. Do we have public comment relative to this ordinance?
No, we have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we had any comments via the web?
We have not.
Great, appreciate that. Council questions, discussion.
I had a quick question, if I could, please. Rosa, and it's more of an ask for explanation. I'm not sure I understand what Section 8 is actually saying. Could you provide a little background on Section 8 for me, please? Thank you.
Sure, Councilmember DeRosa, I'd be happy to answer that and provide some additional information. So for that section is basically reappropriating the bond proceeds that were issued in 17, 18, and 2020 for those projects. The appropriations for those projects expired at the end of last calendar year, and there's still cash available to continue those projects. So this reappropriates those bond proceeds. It does not issue any new debt. It only reappropriates previously issued debt.
And the same bond debt is used for the same project. So it's just a book housekeeping, if you will. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to say, I think Section 5 and the addition of that for banking land dollars for future economic is an excellent idea, and I appreciate that. Thank you, and welcome, Rosa.
Thank you.
I would echo Kathy's comments about Section 5 about banking for property acquisition. Just so I understand Section 8 as well, Matt. So is this residual unspent funds? So if we had perhaps some money built in for extra to contract sort of work on a project that didn't get executed, is that where these unspent bond proceeds are for items that maybe came in under budget?
I would caution to say extra, but it's things that have not yet been invoiced for. So yeah, they are unencumbered at this point. We had about $9.5 million of encumbered bond funds that rolled over, but this is the residual that has not yet been encumbered. Some of it may end up being extra in your terms, but we're not quite finished with all the projects yet to make that determination.
And you'll give us some follow-up information as we talk through, debt financing versus cash financing, some of the items that we have outstanding, and this money may or may not be able to contribute to, outstanding projects that we have at present.
Yeah, we'll do a whole analysis on the debt financing before we get there, and this will certainly be part of that. It's difficult to use debt proceeds from one offering to another because of the restrictions, but to the extent that they are available, we will absolutely do that.
Yeah, because I would think with relative to the new Riverside Crossing Park with that debt issue relative to Bridge Park, perhaps we could, but perhaps we can't. So I just wanted to bring that to light at this point in time. Anything else from council? Okay. Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Actually, this is going to be read at second reading on March 22nd.
I'm sorry, I lost my place on my agenda here before me. I appreciate that. Yes, we will have second reading on this March 22nd. Okay, ordinance 07-21.
Petitioning the Board of County Commissioners of Union County, Ohio to adjust the boundary lines of Jerome Township so as to exclude that territory that as a result of annexation now lies within the corporate boundaries of the city of Dublin.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. And then we'll stay with Jennifer Redland for our staff report.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of council. City Council accepted by Ordinance 1-21 the annexation of one parcel of land from Jerome Township located at 7411 Brock Road. Ordinance 7-21 would authorize the law director to petition the county commissioners to adjust township boundaries in Union County such that the annexed parcel will be removed from Jerome Township and placed in Washington Township. This boundary adjustment process is a continuation of city policy that fire coverage remain uniform within the city, and Washington Township Fire is both aware of and supportive of this proposed adjustment. The law department recommends approval of Ordinance 7-21 at the second reading on March 22nd, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. Jenny, have we received any public comment through the clerk's office?
We have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we received any via the web?
We have not.
Appreciate that. Council questions, discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will have the second reading public hearing at our March 22nd council meeting. Brings us to ordinance 08-21.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a real estate transfer and development agreement with Ease Logistics Services, LLC for the property located at 6101 Avery Road.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. In our staff report, it looks like we have a tag team of Colleen and Eric Meyer. So welcome,
Yes.
Colleen. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, members of council. Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing Eric Meyer to you. He joined our staff about 6 months ago, and you'll be happy to know he was born and raised in the Dublin area. Previously, he worked for a private developer in housing projects in Chicago and Milwaukee, and also previously worked with the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation. So this is his first time presenting to you this evening, his first economic development agreement. So I'm going to hand it over to Eric.
Thank you, Colleen. Good evening, members of council. Ease Logistics is headquartered in Dublin. They've been there since 2014. Ease currently has reached capacity at its existing Dublin headquarters along Avery Road. Ease has been conducting a competitive real estate search for expansion opportunities in Dublin and in surrounding jurisdictions. Ease is currently considering the acquisition of 6141 Avery Road, which is 2.6 acres of land, office, and warehouse space, in order to provide space to meet its expected growth to 129 employees within the next 6 years, and to reach its estimated revenues of $185 million by 2027. The city owns vacant property adjacent to the site Ease is considering acquiring. The Economic Development Agreement proposes transferring 0.43 acres of city-owned property at 6101 Avery Road to Ease for the sale price of $0 in exchange for Ease purchasing 6141 Avery Road and committing to occupying the building for at least 10 years. Ease intends to utilize the city's adjacent land for additional campus expansion opportunities and more visible placement of site signage. Ease Logistics would pay the city of Dublin $121,015 if 6141 Avery is not occupied for 10 years, which is the value of the city-owned land. Ease Logistics will be sending a representative to the next city council meeting to speak more and to answer any questions you may have. Colleen and I can now answer questions you may have for us about this proposal. And nice to meet you folks.
Thank you. Well done, Eric. Welcome home. It's good to have you back, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay, Jenny, have we received public comment via the clerk's office?
We have not.
Great. And Lindsay, have we via the web?
We have not, Mayor.
Thank you. Council questions, discussion. Going to go that easy on Eric on his first time, huh? Must have been that good of a presentation. That's what I think. Okay, we'll have second reading public hearing at the March 22nd council meeting. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Brings us to ordinance 09-21.
Determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Dublin, Ohio, in cooperation with the Columbus Regional Energy Special Improvement District.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. And there's Sarah right there. Sarah O'Malley. Perfect Irish name for the week of St. Patrick's Day to present in the city of Dublin. Welcome, Sarah. Please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, members of City Council. It's great to be with you this Monday evening. Before you tonight is a series of 2 resolutions and 3 ordinances for the PACE project located at 4015 to 4059 West Dublin Granville Road. It's a 42,000 square foot multi-office medical office building, known as Stone Ridge Medical Center. So the building ownership is requesting use of PACE financing totaling nearly $966,000. And this particular project does include a bond issued by the Ohio Air Quality Development Authority, or also known as OAQDA, that provides additional benefits for the landowner over the term of the financing agreement. So specifically, this bond program provides a sales tax exemption for materials used in the PACE project, estimated at around $23,000, and exempts the tax increases on the property specifically related to the PACE project for the term of the special assessment, which is 19 years, and that's estimated at $24,265 annually. So as a result, property tax collections due to related parties like the school district and the township will be slightly impacted by their proportional amounts of the exempt value determined by the Franklin County auditor. So I have been in contact with both the schools and the township, so they are aware of this project. And just for a quick overview, the scope of work, like similar projects, includes equipping the building with solar energy solutions, upgraded lighting systems like LED technology, and high efficiency HVAC. So the first resolution tonight approves the property owner's petition to the city to levy the special assessments. The second resolution and 2 of the ordinances later this evening provide the steps set forth in the Ohio Revised Code for levying the special assessments. And the very last ordinance approves all of the transaction documents. So this process, while detailed, does follow the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and our own city charter. So to help expedite these over the course of the evening, I won't repeat this overview 5 times. I'll spare us all. I'm happy to if you would like, but I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this particular PACE project this evening that you may have.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Jenny, I wanted to check in to see if we've received any public comment through the clerk's office.
We have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we received any via the web?
No public comments.
Thank you. Council questions, discussion? I have just one, Sarah. This is kind of a new wrinkle here about the increased valuation of the property not being subject to property tax increases as well. Is this something that we would expect to see, or why is it different in this than it has been in previous ones?
So this is just another funding mechanism or tool that the Columbus Franklin Finance Authority has in their toolbox for PACE. So the project that council just approved was like a private financing with a third-party bank. So this is a bond program that the Finance Authority has in their toolbox to kind of offer for energy efficiency improvements. So we have seen it in the past with 5165 Emerald Parkway. I think that was the very first project council approved back in 2018. So I haven't done enough of these to tell you if they're rare or if it will come up, enough. I don't know if COVID has impacted that in regard to this particular tool in financing, but I have, heard of other projects utilizing that.
So they essentially would pay a fee in lieu of those increased property taxes that would go towards debt repayment?
I'm not particularly sure on that. I don't know. Yeah, I can't speak to that area specifically. I think that they're just getting the property tax exemption on the materials that they use for the energy improvements. And then whatever that increase in property value is, they don't pay tax on the property improvement. So both of those is around $24,000 each. So, I did talk, with the township administrator and with the schools, and I think the general consensus is that we're all encouraged by continued investment in our commercial office product. So I think in the long run, we all win.
Good. I appreciate that. It really was just a question for educational purposes more than anything else. And if you would find anything else prior to our March 22nd meeting, felt you had some information to pass along, that would be appreciated too.
Absolutely.
Okay. We will hear second reading on March the 22nd, which will bring us to ordinance 10-21.
Levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Dublin, Ohio, in cooperation with the Columbus Regional Energy Special Improvement District.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. Sarah, we will spare you the staff report since you gave us one that covers several. I do want to continue to check in with the clerk's office for public comment.
We have not received any.
And Lindsay on 10-21?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. Any other council questions, discussion? Okay, we will have second reading, public hearing on that March 22nd. Ordinance 11-21.
Authorizing and approving an energy project cooperative agreement by and between the city of Dublin, Ohio, the Columbus Regional Energy Special Improvement District, Inc., Stone Ridge Investments, LLC, and the Columbus Franklin County Finance Authority, a special assessment agreement by and between the city of Dublin, Ohio, the County Treasurer of Franklin County, Ohio, the Columbus Regional Energy Special Improvement District, Inc., Stone Ridge Investment, LLC, and the Columbus Franklin County Finance Authority, and related agreements, all of which provide for the financing of special energy improvement projects.
I'll introduce it.
Christina, on 11-21, any public comment, Jenny, from the clerk's office?
No.
Thank you. And Lindsay via the web?
Nothing from the web.
Appreciate that. Council questions, discussion, anything further? Okay, we will look for second reading, public hearing, March 22nd. Brings us to introductions, public hearings, resolutions. Resolution 09-21.
Accepting the lowest and best bid for the Avery Road Sidewalk Connections and Wilcox Road Shared Use Path Project.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And our staff report will be from Paul Hammersmith. There he is. Welcome, Paul.
Good evening, members of council. On February 18th, 2021, 5 bids were received, open and read, for the Avery Road Sidewalk Connections and Wilcox Road Shared Use Path projects. Work included in this project consists of the construction of 831 feet of sidewalk along the east side of Avery Road from Highland Croy Drive to Terra Hill Drive. And additionally, 1,928 feet of shared use path is to be constructed along the east side of Wilcox Road from Heather Glen Boulevard to Lothian Street and along the west side of Wilcox Road from Lothian Street to Northcliffe Boulevard. Both the sidewalk and shared use path will be located within existing right-of-way. Avery Road will remain open to traffic during the duration of the construction. During portions of the construction along Wilcox Road, 1-lane, 2-way traffic will be maintained using flaggers. The engineer's estimate for these projects is $197,000. The budgeted funds in the 2021-2025 CIP for the Avery Road Sidewalk Connections project are $75,000 and $160,000 for the Wilcox Road Shared Use Path project. The total budgeted funds for both projects are $235,000. Strauser Pavement Company Incorporated submitted the lowest and best bid of $177,725.80. The completion date for the project is May 28th of 2021. The typical communication methods will be used to convey construction information with the residents and motorists throughout the duration of this project. Staff has thoroughly reviewed the Strausser Paving Company bid. Previous experience with Strausser has been favorable on several past projects, and staff is confident Strausser will perform well on this project. Staff recommends council approval of Resolution 09-21, accepting as lowest and best the bid of Strausser Paving Company Incorporated in the amount of $177,725.80, and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Strausser Paving for this project. I'll be glad to answer any questions council might have about this resolution.
Great, thanks, Paul. I'll check in with Lindsay and see if we've received any public comment via the web.
There are none, Mayor.
Thank you. And Jenny, have we received any via the clerk's office?
We have not.
Thank you. Okay, council questions, discussion?
Mayor, I had a quick question for Paul. Sort of two questions, Paul. As I look at the diagrams provided here, we're not going to lose any trees or much in the way of shrubbery to put the sidewalk on the Avery Road addition, are we, Paul?
No,
That's my first question.
Yeah, no, we're not intending to impact any trees in that area.
And then my second question is, what will happen north and south of this? Because there's not sidewalks today on north or south of these sidewalks either.
On Avery Road in particular, it does connect with to the north with Terra Hill Drive. There's actually sidewalks going both east and west along Terra Hill Drive. You're correct. I mean, if you look along Avery Road, you go a little bit to the west and there's a shared use path along the west side of Avery Road heading north. And then to the south, you know, we connect with Highland Drive sidewalk along the north side of Highland Drive. So that's the connectivity we're making with that project. And then on Wilcox Road, it's somewhat difficult to see, but there is shared use path both north and south on Wilcox Road that we're going to be connecting into south, just south of Heather Glen Boulevard on the east side of Wilcox Road. And then to the north, it's along the west side of Wilcox Road. So those are the connections we're making.
So there isn't really a plan to put sidewalks, and I was on my bike today, actually, on the other side of that, on the west side today on the path. And there isn't any really connectivity on that east side of the road. So happy to see this sidewalk in there. I just wonder, particularly north of that, there's that sidewalk stub that I see. I just was curious if we are planning to do anything on that north side of that.
Do you mean along Avery Road?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Not presently, but certainly we could take a look at that along the east side.
Okay.
It was really just filling in this particular gap with this project.
Okay, I know it gets a little more complicated with trees and stuff, but you're right. The west side is very, very nicely connected to the bike path. The east side is challenging. So, okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? All right, then Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Paul. Resolution 1121, appointing the clerk of council and authorizing the execution of an employment agreement.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. And our staff report is going to be one of our very own here, Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In my capacity as chair of the admin committee, I'm bringing forth a discussion regarding the appointment of the clerk of council position. As council is aware, City Council had been in discussions with acting clerk of council, Jennifer Delgado, regarding the clerk of council vacancy following the retirement of Ann Clark in January. Jenny joined staff in 2013, and as of 2015, she has been acting in capacity of deputy clerk of council. During the months of January, a job description for clerk of council was drafted to reflect the primary focus and essential functions of the position, which includes in administrating the legislative operations of the city and providing administrating support to the members of city council. The recommended resolution before you this evening is provided for your consideration would appoint Jennifer Delgado as clerk of council. The resolution also authorizes the execution of an employment agreement with the clerk of council. I am really pleased this evening to be able to provide a recommendation in support of this resolution, and very, very excited. Jenny has been so committed and in her work to the city and so supportive of her work to council. For which we are all very appreciative and very excited to have her as clerk of council. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Vice Mayor, appreciate that. Want to check in with Jenny if there's been any public comment through the clerk's office.
There have not.
And Lindsay, has there been any via the web?
There have not.
Great, appreciate that. Council questions, discussion. I would just add that Jenny has done an outstanding job in Ann's absence, and we are really fortunate to have someone so well versed in the way that our clerk's office runs. Be willing to join us, our band of silly people, I guess. Okay, with that, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Saludo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes. Okay, resolution 12-21.
Accepting the lowest and best bid for the 2021 central landscape maintenance and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the project.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And we have Matt Ehrman back for our staff report. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Before you this evening is Resolution 1221 to accept the bid for the central landscape right-of-way maintenance contract. These contracts are executed with a 3-year term with the option to renew each year based on performance of the contractor. Due to the deficient performance from this particular contractor, staff opted not to renew the contract this year and has elected to rebid the work. Based on the bids received, the lowest and best bid was submitted by 5 Seasons Landscape Management in an amount of $217,440, which is within the budgeted funds in the city's current operating budget. Staff has thoroughly reviewed the bid, and 5 Seasons has historically provided satisfactory services for the city. Staff is recommending approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Matt. Jenny, have we received any public comment through the clerk's office?
We have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay, have we via the web?
No comments from the web.
Thank you. Council questions, discussion? I was out and about today and I did see throughout the city, I don't know that it was this, I don't know what contractor it was, but they were already installing mulch and getting things cleaned up for spring. So
They get an early start before the grass grows.
Yep, that's good. Okay, thank you. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Saludo?
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Brings us to resolution 13-21.
Approving the petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects under Ohio Revised Code Chapter 1710.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And there's Sarah again for staff report.
Good evening. No changes to the first presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on the process or this particular project.
Great, thank you. Jenny, have we received any comment via the clerk's office?
No, we have not.
Thank you. And Lindsay via the web?
We have not.
Appreciate that. Council questions, discussion? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Ms. Saludo?
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes. Resolution 1421.
Approving the necessity of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Dublin, Ohio, in cooperation with the Columbus Regional Energy Special Improvement District.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. Sarah.
This time's the charm. So
Very
no, yes. No changes. This is the last one.
Great, thank you. Jenny, comments to the clerk's office?
We have received none.
Delgado.
Thank you. And Lindsay via the web?
Nothing from the web.
Great, thank you. Council questions, discussion? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Ambrose Groves,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa, Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
and is Mr. Reiner back?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, it'll be good to have that one behind us. Resolution 1521.
Accepting the lowest and best bid for the comprehensive finding system phase 2 project.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And we'll have Paul back with us this evening again for our staff report. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, members of council. On February 17th, 2021, one bid was received, open and read, for the Comprehensive Wayfinding System Phase 2 project. Work included in this project consists of the fabrication and installation of 50 new wayfinding signs, including foundations throughout the city of Dublin. The project is located along prominent corridors on the west side of Dublin, as shown in the exhibit included in your packet, along with a photo of an existing sign installed and an example sign layout. Paired with the Comprehensive Wayfinding System Phase 1A and 1B project performed in 2017, the project completes the citywide vehicular wayfinding system. All roadways will remain open to traffic during the duration of the construction. The engineer's estimate for this project is $640,000. The budgeted funds in the 2021-2025 CIP for the Comprehensive Wayfinding System phased citywide, and that's the description in the CIP, project is $660,000. MP Dory Company submitted the lowest and best bid of $646,685. The project completion date is October 29th of this year. The typical communication methods as outlined in the staff report will be used to convey construction information with the residents and motorists throughout the duration of this project. Staff has thoroughly reviewed the MP Dory Company bid. Previous experience with MP Dory has been favorable on several past traffic signal and street light improvement projects, and staff is confident MP Dory will perform well in this project. Staff recommends council approval of Resolution 15-21, accepting as lowest and best the bid of MP Dory Company in the amount of $646,685 and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with MP Dory for this project. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have regarding this resolution.
Great, thank you. Jenny, have we received public comment via the clerk's office?
We have not.
Thank you. Lindsay via the web?
No comments at this time.
Appreciate that. Questions, discussion, council? None? Paul, can you help me understand a little bit about, we're looking at nearly $13,000 per sign installed. Can you tell me what's special about these or the installation or what might be causing that price tag?
I mean, they are on a specialized pole. In particular, and the poles themselves can be rather expensive, and then just the fabrication of the signs and the sign faces, you know, they're rather large. And then the other component is just the excavation of the foundations. I mean, they're all at different locations, at 50 different locations. And these costs are consistent with what we saw in the phase 1A and 1B project. So you're correct, it's a rather large number per sign. But it really comes down to really the composition of the signs and then the installation and the logistics of installing them.
And I know some of them we did, there was a special finial that was attached to the top of some signs, I believe in the historic district and a few. Do any of these incorporate that, or are these just similar to the signs that we see on the presentation here in the document.
These are similar to the signs you're seeing, you know, outside of the historic district. It was in the historic district that we had the special finial on top of the post.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Rooms,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Brings us to the other portion of our agenda, and up first we have our DORA update, and I believe Allison will be presenting that update.
Good evening again. I'll share my screen here. Okay, are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to kind of give an update on what happened last week. Oh, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Sorry.
I don't think we have full screen.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Sorry about that. But we did have our public meeting last Wednesday. We had approximately 140 people who either watched it live that night or kind of tuned in later and watched it on YouTube. Just to kind of remind everybody, these are the survey results that we had last summer about the DORA, which were overwhelmingly supportive. We also did a Zen City report, which will be included in your packet. And this kind of shows what kind of feedback we had. It was mostly positive, but you can see that the feedback we received via social at this time was significantly less than what we saw in the summer. So some of the reactions that we did receive, these are from the RSVPs, from the people who signed up for the meeting, so that you can see what whether they made a comment or not. Most of them did register. If you can see, 47% registered without a comment. Of those that did have a comment, 89% of those were expressed approval and 11% were expressed disapproval. And for those submitted afterwards, we haven't really had that many. I think 2 more came in today, but you can see we've only had 13 comments after, and this kind of shows you the breakdown of those. What's interesting on this slide is it kind of shows you the things that people were talking about. So the number one issue that really came out is traffic, which I think we heard in the meeting last week, and police and security. And then there were some comments also about adjusting the hours, which we can talk about a little bit later here. So to go over the timeline again, we had the public meeting last week, and this week we're hearing a little bit more about that meeting. And then we can go ahead and do the formal application if council approves this week. And then what we would have is 2 times we need to advertise it before we can bring it back to council for a resolution on April 26th. Again, at that point, we will send it to the state, and we don't know exactly how long it'll take the state to get the licenses out. So that's why we just say a general May at some point. And then we do have the review of the pilot suggested in August 30th. So one of the things we know we need to come back to council with if we go forward with the pilot is how will we know whether we are a successful pilot or not? And some of the things we're going to be keeping online is the ongoing feedback. So we'll have one specifically for the public that anybody can make the comments. We're also going to have a different one for business owners. We recognize they have more questions, maybe more issues that they want to talk about. So we'll have 2 different surveys up. And then in July, we'll do a full citizen survey again, like we did last summer, so that we have that information available for the August 30th meeting. We're also going to look at a lot of statistics. So some of those things, police already track a lot of these, anything crime, and that includes underage drinking or any of those kind of things, noise complaints and traffic. We will work with police to track those and come back with a full report. And also we'll work with the business owners as well to track sales. So we don't know exactly how we're going to report that back, but we're going to work on that and have the details for you at the April 26th meeting. And again, just to remind everybody, the proposed hours that we had and that we presented last week were Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. and also special events, which would be outside of those hours. For example, the farmers market. We didn't get a lot of comments on this during the meeting. We did have a few people in the comments say they would like it all the time. And then there were some comments also about extending the Saturday hours. But other than that, that was mostly it. We did have more comments on the boundaries for both before and during. There were some specific questions about somebody's personal property, which we answered. We had a fair number of questions about the bridge and the park, both for and against having those included in the area. And then also the southern boundary of the historic district, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So one of the things I wanted to clarify on this map, there were some questions about the yellow sections versus, so the yellow sections are the full area here versus the pink sections. So the pink sections are really, we wanted to just sort of illustrate where people could walk outside. I think that came from, there was a lot of confusion whether people could walk along Riverside Drive or those kind of things. So what we kind of wanted to do is just show that. There was one area that was left out in the original maps we showed last week, and that was down here in front of the hotel and conference center. And we do want to make sure it's seen that those are included, and you should be able to walk down there. The historic district will go into some of those details, but here's the overview. One of the questions that came up just recently was the Cohatch property. We double checked and their main entrance is actually on North Street. So we can talk about that, whether we wanted to add that, because right now we do not have North Street, kind of similar to how we didn't include the other alleys. But right now, without having that, we are blocking off the Cohatch area, which was not our original intent. Down here in the south, so what we have seen is that a lot of people were talking about possibly going down further on South High. I'm going to bring up a map that I think might be helpful to review. This map, there's two different areas. So the yellow area is what's currently in the proposal. The purple area is actually the entertainment district that already exists. So I was thinking that possibly that might be the answer to this, is that we just kind of follow what those boundaries already are with the discussions again about the alleys. I did promise that I would show the two residential properties. Those are the only two residential properties that are included in that district. So there's a discussion to be had about those two. They could still be in the DORA and not allow DORA in their area, but that's up to council whether they'd want to include those areas or not. Finally, the things that need to be done here still, we need to define what those boundaries are. I didn't include that, but we need that to be able to submit the application. Then we will advertise the applications on file. We need to design the cups and the signage. This is just a sample logo right now. We're planning on working with Lindsay and their team at CPI to come up with something specific for this DORA area specifically. Councilwoman Fox talked about the regulations on the cup, and I think that's one thing that we kind of intend to do, because I think it would help people really understand what was going on. And then we will put an RFP out for the cup supplier, and we'll work with the retailers to explain how that whole process will work. We'll prepare the resolution to bring back on April 26th. We'll create those feedback forms to have online. And then the last thing we would need to do is order and install the signage. So at that point, I can open it up to questions and especially talk about any of those boundary issues.
Okay, comments, questions of council?
Yeah, Allison, can you go back to the cups, the previous slide?
Yeah.
The cup upper left says DORA District Downtown Dublin. Does that, I can read into that that's historic Dublin? Are there two different cups or not?
No, there, I mean, I guess there could be, but we actually, the downtown Dublin group, that's what we've been calling both sides of the area, and that's what Visit Dublin has been calling the entire area, including Bridge Park and Historic Dublin.
Okay.
That's kind of a brand. In fact, they just recently were able to get that as a location you can tag when you're on Facebook.
Okay. You may recall last year when we talked about this, I was not in favor of the DORA. I wanted to preserve the family-friendly environment, but after visiting DORAs in other communities around Central Ohio, I found that my perceptions were very inaccurate. So I'm in support of it. I'm also in support of extending the southern boundary to John Wright Lane. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Andy. Other comments?
That one specific alley in front of where Cohatch's front door is, we probably should include that. I don't think we want to exclude Cohatch from being a part of the DORA. So I would be supportive of that. I'd like to hear other people's thoughts on the southern boundary on the historic side.
Christina, I had a couple comments in response to your question. If I understand this, and it's I guess a question for Allison, the two homes are already adjacent to the DORA. So if we were to extend it down, and I think it would be past the chamber, I'm thinking is where that goes, right? Largely, we wouldn't be touching any other residential neighbors' properties. Is that correct?
No, there's none in that extra district that we're showing there in the purple. 83 South High in the original proposal was not included, but it was directly adjacent to Coast there, so they were already right next to the whole plan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for it, and as long as we're not really extending it into residential, and it doesn't look like we're doing that. So it seems logical. Again, what I like about the approach is that it is a pilot, and it is a test. And so I think part of this is to gather information, and it seems to me, given the criteria, it makes logical sense to extend it as long as we're not touching more residential. Allison, if you would go back to the criteria slide, and thank you for doing that. I think it's important for us, if we're going to conduct a pilot, that we understand what it is we're aiming to learn, right? And I appreciate that. So under the statistics, you have noise complaints and traffic. I'm wondering if we don't also have some sort of a metric that talks about resident feedback, positive and negative. I mean, I know we have ongoing feedback forms. So as far as the statistic is concerned, my question, I guess, is how are we capturing, I'm going to call it the essence of what's happening here? Are residents happy with what we're seeing or unhappy with what we're seeing?
I think it's probably as simple as that. I mean, I think one of the things that we asked in the recent DORA feedback is just the simplest question: are you in favor or not? Because a lot of times when we were going through those, we were trying to say, is this a positive or this is a negative? So I think it's, very clear. We learned that just ask the simple question: are you happy with how the DORA is going, or are you not? What suggestions would you have, or do you just want to see it gone? So I think we will work on those specific questions and try to get to the answer. But I think the simpler in that specific question, probably the better.
So I appreciate that very much. I'm wondering also, so during the DORA, I know we had talked a little bit about potentially having some immediate way to give feedback, whether that's a code or a phone number or a website or something, and being able to capture that, I think, would be important here, because we don't want to, of course, wait until the end of this test. Which leads me to, I guess, a request that I would ask, and that is that we would have some sort of a midway part point update to council on this so that we're not getting all the way to the end before we get feedback. So I think it'd be important for us because I think as you pointed out previously in other discussions, I mean, council can extend this, stop this or whatever at any time during the course of this, whether it's a pilot or when it's in final phase. So it isn't sort of a one and done thing, it's a continual. So I think it'd be wonderful to have a partway update on that. And I think having the rules on the cups is really important, and I appreciate very much that design because I know part of it is people will say, well, I didn't understand the rules, and logically so, right? So I think being able to provide that one other point of reinforcement of these are the rules, I think is a pretty important thing. So with those additions and thoughts, I'm supportive of giving this a pilot try.
Thanks, Kathy. Any other comments from council?
No, and I've always been interested in doing the DORA, and I agree with my council member mates that the expansion sounds like a good idea. I'm also interested in seeing about, and this is not for this particular DORA, but later on, it's still hard for me to imagine people not walking across the bridge back and forth between the two areas. So something I hope that we'll investigate in the future, because I don't know, I just seem to think that that's going to be an unusual requirement. So let's go with what we got. I'm totally for it and have been for ever since it was proposed. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? I would only add that I echo following the entertainment district footprint, although I would not be supportive of including the down alleys, particularly in the southern portion of the district, which lead down into the residential. You know, if there's a primary door that happens to be on the alley, we can go down the alley far enough to get the primary door. But if there is not a primary business door on the alley, I'm not supportive of those going down the alley at all, because those alleys in short order lead to the residential portion of the district. So I'd like to keep those folks up on the sidewalk along High Street as much as possible and as far away from the residential units as we possibly can. I don't know how my fellow council members feel about that, but I think it's an easy way to protect them.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly.
Agreed.
Okay. So I'm going through the agenda here. It looks like we need to have a motion to direct the city manager to proceed with filing the application.
So moved.
Thank you, Andy. And we will need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Christina. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Ms. Saludo,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Allison. I know that was a lot of work gathering the public input and putting that all together, but it sure is worth it. Brings us up to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan update. We'll have Matt Ehrman with us again.
Thank you again, Mayor and members of council. In your packet this evening is a staff report regarding the city's Parks and Recreation Master Plan and update. The city's first plan was adopted in 2010 to formalize policies, address physical aspects, levels of service priorities, operations, maintenance, and development of the city's park system. The strategic plan for its execution included more than 90 action steps, to which a significant portion of those action steps have been completed and have been implemented over the past 10 years. As the city now looks forward with the development of the 2035 framework plan, an update to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is relevant to the new vision for the city. Looking ahead, it is important to recognize and understand current trends and predictions going forward. An update to the current plan will also maintain the fundamental best practice standards required as an accredited agency with the National Recreation and Parks Association. The process for the update will include substantial input and engagement with the entire community and staff is here this evening to recommend that the update be initiated with council's referral of this topic to either the Public Services Committee or the Community Services Advisory Committee, or both for that matter. For either committee, staff will prepare an in-depth presentation of the existing plan, its implementation over the past 10 years, and take a look forward into the future to initiate the dialogue. Findings from the committee will be shared with City Council with recommendations for the process, project scope, desired content, and timing for the update. With that, staff recommends this approval or recommends this referral to one of the or both of the committees of council's choice. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Matt. I guess we would be looking for a motion to refer this project to Public Services Committee and to CSAC.
So moved.
Andy, and there a second?
I'll second.
I would just add, when Kathy and I met with all of the boards and commissions, CSAC had particular interest in this topic. So I know that they're looking forward to getting a bite at this apple pretty quick. So appreciate you putting the information together, Matt. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Ms. Saludo,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Rooms,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to staff comments. We'll see Dana appear here in a second.
Good evening, members of council. Thank you. Only one thing. I just wanted to remind everyone that we released the 2021 State of the City this last Thursday, so it's been pretty well circulated, and just wanted to lift that up to our residents, those who are watching, and also really wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to City Council for your participation in that. Thanks to Matt Stifler for his excellent report that he provided, and I also want to say thank you to our communications, public information staff, and our contract video team, who does such a great job in helping us with that effort. So with that, I just want to encourage everyone to go check it out. And it was a tough year in 2020. It goes without saying, but I think generally speaking, it was also a year that was pretty uplifting in regards to how folks responded to that. So just in our resilience as a community. That's all I have, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dan, and thanks for all your work on that too. I thought that was really well put together. Okay, council committee reports. We're going to go back to the complete count committee. We'll resurrect that for this evening for a final special report from Christina Ludo.
Thanks very much. I'll be brief. Just really quickly, they gave us this nice little certificate to thank us for all of our work. You can see, based on the names listed in the memo, there were actually quite a few people who were involved with the committee, and really just working to get the word out, especially to some of our harder to reach community members, to try to get them to see the importance of filling out the census. So just an example of the success that we had. So Dublin's self-reported rate was 83.6%. Ohio's was 70.7%, and the national response rate was 67%. So definitely having the committee and the folks that were on that committee were really key to that successful number that we had. So I want to thank the balance of council for allowing us to have that committee and to work together, and to staff. You could see there were just a ton of staff who were super helpful in helping us to get ideas together, get that information out there, and certainly to all the committee members. Just about every one of them were super, super active, including our grand leprechaun, Jill Kranstuber, just another example of how she's out there in the community trying to help everybody. So anyway, so thank you to all of you guys. Thank you to our community members. It's a very nice little certificate. We'll get that displayed.
Great, and special thank you to our residents for listening and doing.
Absolutely.
That is wonderful. Appreciate that and your work on that, Christina. We will skip the planning and zoning, Jane, this evening, attending to some family matters, and we will move on to the admin committee. Kathy.
Yes, thank you very much. And let me begin by saying thank you, Christina, for your work on the census, it really made a difference, and we appreciate that. So thank you. I had three things. The first and most substantive is in your board pack. You received a memo. Mayor just alluded to a conversation or summary of a conversation. She and I had the very good fortune to be able to spend time one-on-one with members of our Board of Zoning Appeals, the Planning and Zoning Board, the Architectural Review Board, and the Community Services Advisory Commission. We had one-on-ones, and the point of those were, first and foremost, to thank them, of course, for their service to the community, but to also gather their feedback and thoughts of continuous improvement ideas, suggestions, things that they needed to be more successful in their work, and general observations. So I'm not going to spend time going through them, but you can see from the 3-page memo that we prepared for your review this evening, we had a lot of really wonderful feedbacks and observations, including I would be remiss if I didn't pass along their real appreciation for their fellow board and commission members and for the staff support that they receive, and you'll see that in the memo. But what I would like to do, if I could, for just a couple minutes this evening, is the memo concludes with a set of recommended action items for your consideration this evening. And they're listed there. Let me just lift up a couple of those, and then we can certainly discuss any. One of those was continued request, if we could, for staff to find ways to provide ongoing architectural expertise and support to the boards. That was a fairly unanimous request. And I've had an opportunity to discuss with staff, but I think that's an important, and we've heard that, but it continues to be important as we listen to the applications that become before us. The second was from CSAC to really have some meaty projects. They've really enjoyed the work that they've been able to do on things like stormwater. So again, tonight, the referring of the park master plan, I know they'll be enthusiastic about that. One of the things that they asked us to do is to have a queue, if you will, or work on some ongoing projects for them. And they look very much forward to being involved in the 2035 framework plan. So we'll continue to do that. The only other item of those action lists that I would bring forward is the continued request for continuing education. And that could be a variety of forms, from onboarding education to what's happening in the environment to specifics about expertise that they need in their particular board or commission. And they appreciate our continued help. And as you know, the admin committee has been working on supporting boards and commissions, and we will take this up and we will work with staff if that's the direction of council this evening. So with that, I'll look for any feedback or thoughts and see if you're supportive of the action items presented in the report, and ask the mayor if she also had anything she wanted to add to this summary. Thank you.
That was an excellent summary, and all I would say is it was really nice to meet with them, and I appreciate that each of them were willing to take time to spend with us as well, over and above the time that they give for meetings.
Thank you both for pulling this together and spending some time with them. This is a great list. I really, really appreciate it. It definitely helps to give me some insight into what our boards and commissions are looking for. You know, and I know that they get training, but it's nice to hear some specific areas that they're looking for additional expertise in. Like, I think that's really super helpful. It also, I think, will help and guide us as the admin committee looks for really high quality ways to recruit folks and look for people who really want to serve. So this is helpful in that regard as well. So it's a little bit of double duty. So I really appreciate it. I think this is great.
I would just echo the word, or repeat the word, training. More training. You know, we ask a lot of these commission members, they spend a lot of time as it is, but the architectural support obviously is helpful. We don't need every member to be trained to be an architect, but there are other areas that they could be trained in.
So great, thank you very much. And it really was a pleasure. I think we would need a motion to accept the recommendations. So if that is the case, I will so move.
I'll second.
Mr. Reiner,
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Jenny, go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Rooms,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Great. Community Development Committee, John.
Yes, we met the first of the month, and I will say that we had a pretty extensive economic review of development. Thank you, Colleen Geiger, and thank you, Chris and Andy, for sitting through that. It was very interesting. I suppose the bottom line of that is we want to have that shared with council as a whole someday in an upcoming meeting. We discussed the historic redevelopment district. We went through the all the benefits that the city provides for maintenance and planting and everything else. And from that came a discussion where we're very interested in finding the resources that are actually allocated to that area so that we might best help that area. So that was one of the, I think, primary things that came out of the meeting. Another interesting thing was a possible management team or manager to manage that area and help us out. So just in short synopsis, I'd have to say those were probably the 3 or 4 major things that occurred in that meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Finance Committee, Christina.
We did not meet, so I don't have anything. I may have something for you in another month.
Great. We'll skip Public Services. Hoda, Kathy.
And that's this evening. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I'll just on the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, we have a meeting on Thursday, so I'll have more at our next time together. Logan Union, Champaign County Regional Planning Committee, Andy.
We have a meeting this Thursday.
Right. 33 Corridor, Kathy, Andy.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
See that. Arts Council, John.
Yes, we got the March 9th through April 16th Artifacts Created at Home coming up. And you can make an appointment, by the way, to stop in at the Arts Center, or you can visually see this on your computer if you want to access their website. So that's a pretty interesting bunch of really creativity from our residents. I think some of them are quite amusing and clever. So hope you get a chance to tune into that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, John. Board of Education, Greg?
School doors open up a week from today, so they are headed back. I would wish them, Dr. Hoadley and the team, luck, but they don't need luck because they have put a tremendous amount of effort and hard work into making sure that they are prepared and these kids stay safe and we all stay as safe as a community. So we wish them the best and appreciate all their hard work.
Good, thanks. They're so prepared. They're willing to go the first Monday after daylight savings time, right? They are so ready. Nothing can stop them. So we appreciate all they do. Washington Township, Jane, we'll skip that tonight, as we will Dublin Bridges. We heard from Jill earlier this evening. Veterans Committee, John?
The Veterans Committee is going to hopefully start up, and we haven't got to whether we're going to do this via the internet or back in person, and that would be the roundtable discussions by the veterans. So it looks like that's going to get launched again. And if any of you are interested in Veterans Affairs or want to hear veterans speak on their experiences in the military, I'd highly recommend that stay tuned. And we'll see if we can get this put together and get going. Thank you.
Thanks. It brings us to round screen. I'm going to start in my upper right with Christina.
Nothing specific tonight. I just want all the parents to take a nice deep breath. I'm in that boat with you. The kids go back next week. We can all do this. And that's for both our Dublin City School kids and for our Hilliard City School kids. I've got both. And they're all going back at the same time. And I told my kids they are not allowed to get sick because they're all going back to school next week. I really need them to. So congratulations to all the parents. We're going to get there, and just have patience.
Great. Yes, the end is near in a good way. Andy.
Congratulations, Jenny Delgado. She's the only person I know that's so efficient, she gets me stuff before I even ask for it. And the St. Patrick's Day parade this Saturday, be there, be square, reverse parade that is. So comfort of your own vehicle, hopefully weather permitting, but it doesn't matter. You can close the windows and put the windshield wipers on.
Yes, we're hoping for good weather. John?
Got some questions on the reverse parade. What exactly is the reverse parade? And be honest with you, I actually didn't know. So just to clarify what Andy was saying, that's a static parade by the parade people, and everybody else will drive by in their cars. So good luck to the teachers and the students. Very excited about getting the schools started back up. Thank you.
Good point. Yes, we will not put all of the vehicles in reverse and start on High Street and end at the Metro Center. I guess I hadn't contemplated that would be one of the possibilities you would think. Greg?
Nothing to add. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, and I'll echo welcome, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny, and we're so excited and so pleased to get to partner and work with you. Thank you very much. All I would want to say is on this International Women's Day, I want to say thank you to my women colleagues on council and on city staff, and all of those that I've been so blessed and fortunate to work with over my career. Thank you all for all you do. I feel blessed to get to work with all of you. So thanks very much.
Super. I just have one thing to add. I was contacted by Curie McCarthy with the Ohio Mayor's Alliance this morning to give testimony before the State House on Wednesday morning relative to the income tax collections policies going forward. So I'll let you all know how that goes after that happens, but I guess I'm scheduled Wednesday morning at 9:30. So I will do my best in that sphere to represent all of us.
Thanks for doing that, Chris. That's tough. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if there is nothing further, have a little less than 3 hours left in today. So I hope that it is wonderful, and to all of you, a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.